You're born somewhere between life is already terrible and it's about to get worse. The year? 1218. The Mongol Empire is expanding like wildfire and your tiny village is right in its path. Your family? Small, proud, and loyal to a local Khan who thinks he can resist Genghis's war machine. You don't know what a war machine is yet, but you'll figure it out soon enough. Spoiler, it's not pretty. Your village holds out longer than most, protected by rocky terrain and a local Khan who refuses to bend the knee. For 3 years, you watch the empire close in like a tightening noose. When you're 7, they finally come for your village. The attack is swift and merciless. Your father dies with a Mongol arrow in his chest. Your mother shoves you behind a grain barrel, whispers for you to stay hidden, then runs out to drag your father's body to safety. She doesn't make it back. When the killing stops, you're one of maybe a dozen children left alive. That's when the Mongol administrators arrive. They don't wear armor like the warriors, just the neat deal robes of imperial officers. They walk among the survivors, examining every child like livestock at market. Most get a dismissive shake of the head. A few, including you, get a nod. They blindfold you, march you across endless plains for days. And when the blindfold comes off, you're standing in front of Karakorum, the beating heart of the empire. It looms over you, vast and unforgiving. It's impressive, sure, but it's also cold, foreign, and smells like sweat and mold. Welcome to your new home. Training starts immediately. There's no orientation. No, here's where the bathrooms are. Instead, you're thrown into drills that make you question whether they're training you or trying to kill you. You cry the first night. By the second night, you're too exhausted to cry. By the third, you've learned that crying earns you extra laps around the training ground. You're not a child anymore. You're a project, and they're forging you into something useful for the Empire. You learn to fight, first with wooden practice swords that leave your arms purple and swollen, then with real blades that draw blood if you're too slow. Every mistake leaves a scar, a reminder that hesitation can kill you. You learn to move without sound, how to hide in shadows during infiltration exercises, how to track footprints through the training grounds. It's all practice, all controlled. Every lesson builds towards something real and deadly. And through it all, they're pounding one message into your skull. Loyalty to the Khan, to the eternal blue sky. But somehow, despite everything, you make a friend. Same age, same story. Another broken kid from a burned down home. You promise to protect each other, like brothers. It's the only thing keeping you human. The days blur together, sparring, fasting, reciting doctrine until your throat is sore. You're not allowed to ask questions, but you have plenty. Like, why are they making you crawl through mud under a net of barbed wire? Or, why does the food taste like it was cooked by someone who hates you? But you keep your mouth shut, because asking questions gets you a day without any food at all. The years pass. By 12, you're lethal. You can fabricate a cover identity on the spot, disappear like smoke, kill without blinking. The truth has been staring you in the face for years. They're not training you to fight in battles. They're training you to prevent them from ever happening. And then, you're 13. Your instructor notices how close you and your friends have gotten. Big mistake. He decides to test your loyalty to the Khan's vision. The test? A fight. To the death. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because attachment is weakness. It's not punishment. It's a lesson. And the lesson is that nothing comes before your duty to the Empire. You hesitate. He doesn't. Your friend's eyes are wide with terror, shaking as he lunges at you. He's not faster or more skilled, just desperate. And desperation is dangerous. Every strike feels heavier because of what it means. He lands a blow, slices your arm. The pain jolts you, but it's the panic that hits harder. You're losing. Survival instinct takes over. The fight isn't quick, but it's over faster than you want it to be. You feint left, strike right. Your blade finds its mark, through his heart. He goes down. You stand over your friend, breathing hard, blood dripping from your arm and your weapon. He looks up at you, eyes wide with shock. And for a moment, you see the boy you promised to protect. Then, he's gone. There's no applause, no pat on the back, just silence. The instructor doesn't even look at you when it's over. He just walks away. You stand there, covered in blood, his blood, and you realize the transformation is complete. They made you kill the one who mattered most to you. You're not a person anymore. You're exactly what they wanted, a committed weapon. A few days later, your instructor approaches you with something like approval in his eyes. You've earned it, he says simply. You're ready. Your first mission arrives. You're given forged travel papers, a merchant's disguise, a dagger that's seen better days. No encouragement, no guidance beyond the target's description. Just orders and a shove toward enemy territory. The target is a minor military official. Important enough to matter, but not significant enough to have any real protection. He's predictable. Same tea house every morning. Same inspection route. Same wine shop every evening, where he drinks until he can barely walk. You watch him for days, learn his patterns. You don't think about who he is or what he's defending. He's a name on a list, and your job is to cross it off in blood. The kill is quick and clean. You catch him in an alley behind the tavern, too drunk to notice you until it's too late. One swift motion, and the dagger is in his throat. He gurgles, eyes wide with shock, and collapses. You don't wait to watch him die. You just disappear into the night. The assignments multiply. Next target? A merchant with loose lips and dangerous connections. You wait until he's alone with his wine. 3 drops of oleander extract later, he clutches his chest, thinking his heart finally gave out. Then a military general planning something foolish. You enter his tent as a messenger during the chaos of camp. A thin blade slips between his ribs as he reaches for the scroll. Gone before his aide returns. After that, a corrupt official at the bathhouse. You put some powdered nightshade in the steam oils, and he's gone before the water turns cold. Mission after mission. Each requires a different face, a different method. Poison and blade, accident and misdirection. You become whoever the moment demands. Merchant, pilgrim, servant, scholar, slipping into roles like changing masks. Whispers of a shadow that strikes without warning, spread along the trade routes. They don't know who you are, or if you're even human. They just know that when the shadow strikes, people die. That's exactly the point. The Empire's reach becomes legend. For 2 decades, you are the answer to unsolvable problems. But by 40, your knees ache. You don't move quite as fast. Your last target in Anyang almost escaped. Almost. 10 years ago, he wouldn't have made it to the door. The Council receives reports on everything. You're still deadly, but no longer untouchable. The order comes down from the Council. Instructor position. effective immediately. You're too valuable to lose in the field. You hate it. Being there brings back old memories. But the Empire's will is absolute. The assignment comes before your feelings. Always. The recruits are so young, torn from burning villages, clutching at memories of home. You teach them footwork, blade work, the 100 ways to end a life. You teach them to kill. They find comfort in each other. Small friendships bloom in the darkness. You watch them bond, knowing what's coming. You don't warn them. What would be the point? Years pass, and then, at 51, you get the order. Your favorite student hesitated on a kill. He's compromised. Your job? Clean it up. You track him down easily. He's alone, sitting by a fire on the steps, staring into the flames, like they might hold the answers he's looking for. When he looks up, your breath catches. For a moment, it's not him you see. It's your old friend, the one you killed all those years ago. The same eyes. He recognizes you immediately. He doesn't run. He just looks at you, voice quiet. Look at us. Look what we've become. The words hit harder than any blade ever could. You feel like you're standing in that training ground all over again, weapon in hand, about to make the same terrible choice. You lower your weapon. Run, you tell him. Run far and never stop. He stares at you, confused, then scrambles to his feet and disappears into the night. You sit by the fire, knowing they'll just send someone else to finish what you couldn't. But it won't be you. You're done being the Empire's blade. You go back and lie. Tell them the job is finished. They believe you. Why wouldn't they? You've always been the perfect tool. Until now. 3 nights later, you disappear. You find a nameless village, nestled in forgotten hills. You mend stone walls with your hands, herd goats across mountain paths. The work is simple, honest. Your hands grow calloused in new ways. But you're not naive. Deep down, you know they might come. So you prepare. An assortment of blades hidden throughout the cottage. And among the herbs and cooking supplies, other tools of your former trade. Years pass. You grow older, slower, your hair showing silver. You almost believe you're free, that you've escaped the Empire's reach. Almost. Then comes the knock on your door. 3 measured taps on a cold evening. You open the door, and there he is, a former student, grown tall, shoulders broad, his face set with grim resolve. His blade catches the light. You're a difficult man to find, he says, stepping inside uninvited. You almost laugh. After all this time, after everything you've been through, it comes down to this. A knock on the door, like he's a neighbor stopping by for tea. He steps closer. You know how this ends, he says. You glance briefly toward the kitchen, to the innocent clay jar sitting among the herbs. We'll see, you reply. The fight begins exactly as you feared. You're slower than you used to be. He's younger and faster. And he was trained by you. Every move you make, he anticipates. Please, master, don't make this harder than it has to be, he says. You go for a leg sweep. He sidesteps it cleanly. You try a palm strike feint. He doesn't fall for it. You reach for your belt knife. He kicks it away. It goes clattering across the stone floor. You built this weapon. You can't outfight him. The kitchen is your final gambit. You scramble toward it, grabbing the small clay jar from among the herbs, ready to throw it at him. He follows, almost leisurely. When he sees what's in your hand, he smiles. Really? This is what the Great Shadow has been reduced to. He lunges forward, confident. You can't dodge. This is your only chance. You smash the jar over his head as his blade drives through your chest. Crushed oleander and powdered arsenic explodes in a small gray cloud. His eyes go wide with sudden realization. Immediately, you both start gasping, coughing blood. He collapses first, wheezing and clawing at his throat. You watch him die on your kitchen floor, your own strength fading with each labored breath. The poison burns in your lungs. Your vision blurs at the edges. At least you brought him down with you. As darkness closes in, you let out one final breath. The Empire never lets you go. Once you're theirs, you either kill for it or die for it. You're born in Sengoku, Japan, Year of the Dragon. Congratulations! You're born to a samurai household, which means your life is written before you can crawl. Your father kneels before a daimyo, a lord who owns land and men, and in turn demands absolute loyalty. Daimyos own most of the land, thus making them prime targets for bandits. So that's where samurai, like your father, come in. Skilled warrior families swear absolute loyalty to their daimyo. For land and gold, of course. A glorified private security company with one clientele. So your father serves, bleeds, and kills for his daimyo. And you will too. At 5, while other children learn games, you learn obedience. You're taught to kneel without fidgeting, even as your legs burn like fire. At 7, you enter the dojo. No toys, no playmates, just wood floors, splinters, and the sting of bamboo swords cracking against your shoulders. You learn to use the bow, spear, sword, and bare hands. You train until your muscles shake. You meditate until your mind empties. This is not education. This is weapon forging, and you are the steel. You dream of becoming like your father, stern, respected, deadly. But when he leaves for a campaign and doesn't return, you learn the first truth of the samurai life. Honor is paid for in blood. The daimyo praises him as a loyal retainer. You inherit his armor. You don't get to choose this path. You're born into it. And now there's no turning back. A few years pass, and now you're 13 years old. You get a new haircut, a new name, and your father's armor. They press a real sword into your hands. It feels heavier than the wooden one you've spent years dropping and bleeding over. They tell you it's your soul now. Lose it, and you lose yourself. Your daimyo rallies his men. The banners flap like storm clouds on the horizon. You imagine duels. One warrior, one blade. Victory or death decided in the poetry of steel. That's the fantasy. The reality? Chaos. Screams. Mud and blood mixing underfoot. Horses crash into men. Spears pierce ribs. Arrows blot out the sky. It's not elegant. It's slaughter. You continue to swing because if you stop, you'll die. Somewhere in the chaos, you'll kill someone. You don't even remember how. Just blood on your blade and a body on the ground. When it's over, you're shaking. The veterans laugh. They've seen it 100 times. You vomit into the dirt. Your daimyo calls you useful. That's enough. For now. That night you stare at your sword, wondering if you dishonored it by surviving. Your father died in battle, a clean death. You lived through one. And it doesn't feel like honor. It feels like theft. But you stay. Because this is the life you were born into. The years blur together. Sengoku Japan is nothing but warlords clawing at each other's lands, and you are their blade. One season, it's Takeda banners. Next, it's Usugi. Then Oda. Always marching. Always fighting. You learn how to survive in the chaos. Keep your armor tight, your bowstring dry, your ears open. You stop asking the names of men in your unit. Names don't last. Only scars do. The battles lose their poetry. No glorious duels, just volleys of arrows, walls of spears, ambushes in rice fields. Your hands blister, your knees ache, your back knots with pain from the weight of armor. By 20, you move like an old man, but still they shove you forward. You cling to Bushido, the samurai code of conduct, because it's all you have. Loyalty, honor, discipline. But even those words taste bitter now. You see men break. Some desert. Some turn bandit. Some slit their bellies rather than fight another hopeless skirmish. You survive. Not because of courage, but because death hasn't chosen you yet. At night, under the banners of your daimyo, you whisper the same prayer. Let me die like my father, with a sword in my hand and my honor intact. Then tragedy strikes. It happens not on the battlefield, but in whispers. Your daimyo is dead, cut down in an ambush, betrayed in a council chamber. The story changes depending on who's telling it. What doesn't change is the truth. His banner no longer flies. His house is gone. And you? Overnight, you are nothing. A samurai without a master. A ronin. A floating man. The word itself cuts deeper than any blade. Floating. Untethered. Adrift. Without anchor. Your stipend vanishes. The land your family farmed under your daimyo's protection is seized. The villagers look through you now, as if your armor is just another costume. You wander. Other ronin gather in tea houses and gambling dens. Some take to the theater stage, parodying the very Bushido they once lived by. Others turn to banditry. A few become blades hired by the highest bidder, their honor pawned off for rice and coin. You tell yourself you are different. You will not shame your father's name. But hunger gnaws at your belly. The wars rage on, and mercenary companies form overnight. You sign your name, take the coin, march again, fighting under banners that mean nothing to you. Each fight feels like betrayal. You serve strangers, spill blood from men your daimyo once called enemies, men who maybe had been the ones who killed your father. You sharpen your sword, but every stroke scrapes at your soul. At night you still whisper the prayer, "Forgive me, Father. Forgive me, my Lord. I fight because I must, not because I believe." You continue like this for 5 years. You're 27 now. Not like anybody is counting. Battle after battle for men you have no feeling for. Then the Battle of Sekigahara ends it. One battle, and the age of endless war is over. Tokugawa Ieyasu rises. The land is bound in peace. And suddenly the sword at your hip is more relic than necessity. The irony stings. You spent your life training for war, only to watch the world decide it no longer needs warriors. A sword doesn't plow a field. A katana doesn't weave cloth. Your calloused hands know only killing. So you drift into work that still requires steel. Merchants hire you to walk beside their caravans, to keep thieves at bay on the roads. It is coin, not honor, that buys your meals now. You fight men you once knew, fellow ronin who chose banditry over starvation, old comrades, now enemies. When your blade cuts them down, it feels less like victory and more like burial. Nights are the worst. In taverns you drink alone. Farmers nod politely, but keep their distance. To them, You are a reminder of the violence they wish to forget. You have no wife? Who would marry a man with no land, no master, no future? No children? No clan to carry your name? Just you, your sword, and the shame that clings heavier than armor. Peace fills the land, but not your heart. For you, peace is exile, a warrior without war, a samurai without purpose. 3 years you continue this routine, bodyguard by day, drunkard by night. You hate yourself for it, but you tell yourself there's no other option for men like you. But word travels fast along the road. A name passes from mouth to mouth, whispered with awe and fear alike. Miyamoto Musashi, the undefeated duelist. A man who fights anyone, anywhere, and always walks away alive. You drink the stories like poisoned sake. Part of you smiles bitterly. Finally, a warrior worthy of the old ways. Another part of you aches with envy. He carries what you lost: honor, reputation, purpose. In your darker moments, you dream of him finding you, of his sword ending your wandering, giving you the death of a true samurai, cut down in single combat, remembered as more than a drifter. No nameless grave, no forgotten bones, just steel, blood, and an ending worth telling. But when rumor reaches you that Musashi may indeed be coming for you, courage falters. You vanish into the alleys of a nameless town, hide your swords beneath worn robes. The thought of facing him and failing without dignity crushes you with shame. You tell yourself you are not ready, but in truth, you are simply afraid. Then news arrives of the 47 ronin, men you once fought beside, men who chose loyalty even after death claimed their lord. They avenged him knowing it would mean their own deaths. They went to the grave with honor unbroken, their names carved forever into memory. You stare into the fire that night, haunted by their example. You remember your daimyo's face, the way his hand once rested on your shoulder. Most importantly, you remember your father, how he died with honor, and the guilt burns hotter than the flames. You cannot change the past, but you can still choose your end. So you vow, no more hiding. You will meet Musashi. You will redeem yourself, or die trying. So you return to the beginning, to the boy who first stumbled through stances in the dojo, the youth who bled on his blade during cleaning, the warrior who once believed in Bushido as if it were scripture. You strip yourself bare and start again. Dawn after dawn, you swing until your arms ache. You run hills until your lungs burn. You sit in silence, meditating until the ghosts of your lord and comrades fill the room. Your body protests, joints stiff, scars screaming, but you force it into obedience. This is not training to live. This is training to die with honor. A year passes. You step into the open square of a town and announce your challenge. I wait for Musashi here. Whispers ripple through the crowd. Days pass. You remain, kneeling beneath the sky, sharpening your blade, sharpening your resolve. And then one morning, he arrives. Miyamoto Musashi. His presence is like thunder before the storm. He bows. You bow. No words needed. The duel begins. Then the silence breaks. Steel sings. You surge forward, katana flashing arcs of silver in the morning sun. Sparks leap as your blade crashes against his. You fight not like a man clinging to life, but like one racing toward death. Each strike rattles your bones, but you push harder, forcing Musashi back a step. His eyes narrow, then he shifts. Smooth, sudden, deadly. His counter splits the air, grazing your arm. Pain flares. But you roar, pressing on, each swing heavier than the last. One final clash. Your blade shatters. His blade finds your chest. Cold floods you. Knees buckle. The world tilts. He holds you up, voice steady, words carved into eternity. If you weren't fighting to die, I would be the one laying here. Darkness swallows you. At last, you have earned your ending. Not forgotten, not nameless. A samurai to the very last breath, like your father before you. They bury you where you fall. No shrine, no mourners. Time moves fast after your death. Too fast. The Sengoku chaos you were born into fades. Then, the Meiji Restoration wipes away everything you lived for. Samurai outlawed. Swords banned. Bushido is reduced to bureaucracy and bedtime stories. The class you bled for becomes a myth. Kabuki actors play samurai with painted faces. Farmers with rifles take the battlefield. Your kind is gone. And you? You're not even a myth. Just another man swallowed by the earth. Your name lives on only in Musashi's retelling. A line in his legend. A whisper among students who will never know your face. You're born in England somewhere in the late 13th century, deep in the reigns of kings who love war more than peace. Your home is a timber shack with a thatch roof that leaks in winter and stinks in the summer. The floor's mud, the blankets are thin, and the only warmth comes from the smoke-choked fire in the corner. Rats own the place as much as your family does. Your early years are spent in perpetual hunger. Not starving, but never full either. Life isn't easy, but nothing stops a peasant boy from dreaming of becoming a knight. At least you've never seen a starving knight before, or any knight for that matter. But the traveling bard's tales of knights always mention glory, and that's what you want. But it's a shame you'll never get to choose what you'll be. Parliament already decided that before you were born. By law, every able-bodied male must train with the longbow. Not for sport, not for fun, for war. The goal is for England to have every man to be available for recruitment. The order comes straight from the crown, enforced by the sheriff. Skip practice, and you'll pay a fine you can't afford, or spend a night in the stocks. But right now, you're still a toddler, so you're exempted. A few years pass, and now you're 7 years old. The law affects you now. So after church every Sunday, you line up at the butts. 7 years old, bow in hand, strings biting your fingers raw. No games, no excuses. You pull until your shoulders burn, until the tears stop coming, until calluses form like armor over your skin. The adults call it honor. You call it pain. But pain is the point, and it's shaping you for a life you never asked for. One where killing will be just another chore. You grow into your bow like other boys grow into their boots. By 12, the child's bow is gone. You showed promise among your peers. So, you get punished. I mean, rewarded with extra training. Now it's the real thing. Longbows made from yew wood as tall as you, with draw weight heavy enough to snap your spine if you're careless. Before drawing, they made you build strength through constant practice like lifting stones. Your spine protests, but the king's order comes first. The first time you pull it to full draw, you feel something tear in your shoulder. No one cares. Again, they say. Training isn't about hitting targets. It's about becoming a machine. You fire until your fingers split and bleed. Then you fire some more. The leather guard on your wrist stinks of sweat and rot. Your left arm thickens, bones bending under years of strain. Your spine twists. You don't notice at first, but the village healer does. He says it's the mark of a true bowman. There's no escape from the grind. Not in winter when the bowstring freezes, not in summer when the sweat blinds you, not even on holy days. The law doesn't care about the harvest, the weather, or your aching body. It only cares that when the king calls, you'll be ready to rain death on whoever he points at. 2 years pass, and congratulations, you've made it to 14. Technically, you're now an adult. After all, less than 50% of your peers makes it to this age. Now you can let loose 12 arrows a minute with deadly aim at 200 yards. By then, your body is already broken in ways you won't understand until you're older. But you probably won't make it that long anyway. You're 17 when they finally pull you from the village for your first real war. You've trained your whole life for this moment. Or so they tell you. The reality is 20 miles a day in thin leather boots, 60 pounds of misery strapped to your back, and no promises of a warm place to sleep when you stop. You eat hard bread that cracks your teeth, meat so tough you wonder if it's horsehide. The rain turns your bowstring useless, so you sleep with it inside your shirt, your own sweat soaking it through. You march with men twice your age, some missing fingers, others limping from old wounds. You try not to notice how many start the march and how many are missing by the next sunrise. But what you know is there's only 2 reasons they aren't around: desertion or death. You can't seem to decide which one's better. When you reach the battlefield, the ground is already slick with mud and blood. You get into formation and wait for your orders. The captain's horns signal for you to fire your first arrow into the chaos. Somewhere out there, a stranger falls because of you. You don't see his face, but you hear the scream. You keep firing. You see arrows flying everywhere. You even see some of your comrades falling from friendly fire. Your hands wobble. One of your arrows lodge into the back of a friendly footman. You pretend not to notice. When it's all over, you're shaking from muscle spasms, bleeding from your bowstring cuts. This makes you think of her, the girl promised to you since childhood, and wonder what she'd say if she saw you now. You promise yourself to marry her immediately after your first campaign. By nightfall, you've looted boots from a corpse. Yay, your first pay! The captain of your company calls it wages. You call it whatever you can strip from the field before someone else does. A knight's sword? Worth more than a year's pay. You loot a pouch with 3 coins and a wedding ring. The army pays late, if it pays at all. The captain tells you plunder isn't greed, it's survival. And for the first time, you understand. War isn't glory. It's just surviving one more day. You limp home months later, alive, but changed. Your fiancé runs to meet you, smiles through tears, and kisses you like she's been holding her breath for months. But when she pulls back, her eyes search your face, as if she's not sure it's really you. And the painful part is, you're not sure either. The king calls again. He always will. You march again and again, and spend more time on the road than in your own bed. Campaigns last months, sometimes years. When battle comes, it's never clean. Stakes in the ground to stop cavalry, lines of men shoulder to shoulder, the captain's voice carrying over the clash. You fire until your fingers split, until your shoulders feel like they're tearing away from your body. 1,000 arrows in the air at once, the sky turning black. Nights fall, horses scream. You don't stop. You can't. One battle, the captain's tactics don't go as planned. The enemy closes in on you. With your arrows gone, you reach for a weapon, only to realize the only other thing on you is a dagger. Your opponent is a knight squire. Obvious to you since he is wearing leather armor and not chainmail armor. He lunges for you with his sword. You dodge back, but still get a slash across your face. Every one of his swings reeks of desperation. You notice he looks young, reminds you of yourself in your first campaign. So you know he lacks experience. And almost immediately it shows. He stumbles on a corpse. Like a coiled snake, you stab at his exposed neck. He staggers backward and looks at you in disbelief, then dies with his eyes open. You remind yourself to always bring an axe with you, as you keep bleeding from your face. Injuries pile up. A cut that won't heal. A shoulder that won't lift right. Fingers that go numb in the cold. Purple patches on your finger due to gangrene. Obviously due to blood supply from pulling your bowstring. You apply first aid by pouring wine, honey, or even dung on wounds. After all, no one wants to go to the surgeon. The surgeon's tools are fire, iron, and prayers. In that order. Amputation if you're lucky. Death if you're not. Somewhere far from here, your fiancée, now turned wife, waits. Or maybe she's stopped waiting. Letters don't always make it. She's heard rumors that you're dead before. You've heard rumors she's remarried. Every battle changes you. Every scar changes you. Every limp, every sleepless night, every winter that makes your joints scream. They all push you further from the man you were. The bow still fits your hand, but you're not sure your own skin does anymore. So when you do see each other again, the air between you is thick with all the things you both didn't say. And you both let it be. 10 years passed since your first campaign. You're 27 now. Your life is now a routine. War, battles, injuries, peace, and war again. It feels like an everlasting rat race. Or maybe an everlasting rat battle royale, with the nobles and royals as the fat cats that gain from it. The years grind you down. Your left arm bulges grotesquely from years of drawing the bow. Your spine curves like a bent staff. The healer says it's the archer's body, as if naming it makes the pain noble. Your fingers are rigid with deep grooves, hard as horns. Perfect for the bowstring, useless for fine work. Work is scarce between campaigns. You take odd jobs, mending fences, hauling sacks, but your joints protest with every lift. Some days, you can't even string your bow without help. Your wife ages faster than you remember her mother aging. Worry lines deepen each time a recruiter rides through. Your children, 2 boys, 1 girl, barely know you. You missed all of their births. You just came home to a new baby. Sometimes you left when she was pregnant. Other times the campaign went for so long, you just met a new baby when you came back. You don't know what to feel. Happiness at being a father? Or fear that you might never see them again next campaign. Sometimes you wonder if they are all yours. But you don't take the thought seriously. After all, you weren't a saint during your campaigns. One day, the boys pull at your arm, begging to learn to shoot. You want to say no. You want to break the law for them. But the king's decree still stands. And so by 7, they're bending light bows at the butts, just like you did. Your wife tries to pretend life is normal. She talks about planting barley, mending the roof, and the neighbor's new baby. You nod, but you're only half there. At night, you wake to phantom horns, the imagined whistle of arrows over your bed. She reaches for you, and you flinch before you know why. You wonder if it's because of the rumors, or your guilt, or the nightmares of the dead that still haunts you. One thing you've learned from war is to keep your eyes down when you pass the dead. Looking too long at a face, especially one that looks like someone you know, is a mistake. Because you have noticed they tend to follow you, in dreams, on the edge of shadows, or the sudden stink of blood when you're alone. You flinch when the door slams. Sounds like PTSD, right? Well, there's no name for it in your time. No treatment. Just ale, prayer, and the hope no one sees your hand shake. The priests tell you it's divine punishment. Neighbors whisper about curses. You start to believe it yourself, especially on the bad nights. In war, you're useful. In peace, you're dangerous. People watch you the way they watch stray dogs, warily from a distance. You speak too bluntly. You drink too much. You don't fit anymore. Home isn't easier. Your wife looks at you like she's counting the changes. Your children barely recognize you. You realize that the years have made you a stranger. To your village, to your family, to yourself. You're 40 now. That makes you an old man in archer years. Your hands don't grip like they used to. The bow you once bent with ease now feels like a tree trying to tear your arms from their sockets. The old injuries throb in the cold, a constant reminder of every march, every volley, every close fight you barely survived. No one calls for you now. It's your son they want now. The wars move on without you. You work odd jobs, mending fences, sharpening tools, but your mind never leaves the battlefield. Some men dream of home, a fire, a warm bed, a wife's embrace. You dream of mud, screams, and the weight of the bow in your hand. You dream of that perfect volley, hundreds of strings singing together, arrows blotting out the sun. You wish you could die there, on your feet, bow drawn, one last arrow in flight before you fall. In your dreams, it happens. The enemy closes in, and you don't care. You fire arrow after arrow until they're gone. Then it's just you, the bow, and the silence. You fall forward into the grass and the world goes black. But dreams aren't real. In reality, you die in a damp bed, not in battle, not with a bow in your hands. Your body just stops. They bury you in a shallow grave behind the church. No banners, no cheers, no one to remember the wars you fought. Years pass. The bow you once worshipped is replaced by the crossbow, then the musket. Gunpowder erases the art you gave life to. Archery survives only as a sport for nobles and hobbyists, a curiosity. And you? Your bones survive as an archaeologist's prize, with one arm thicker than the other, grooves worn into finger joints, a spine twisted like rope. They wonder who you were, but they know what you were. You're born in medieval Europe, specifically to a noble family. Even more specifically, to a noble family that already has a perfectly good firstborn son who will inherit the land, title, and maybe even live past 40. So what about you? Well, you get a sword. Eventually. But first, you get a name like Algernon or Folk, and a destiny that sounds impressive, but is just a long, slow march toward joint pain. By the time you're 5, everyone's already telling you what you'll be. A knight. And sure, that sounds cool. Until you realize knight doesn't mean hero. It means full-time stabbing professional with lifelong trauma and seasonal armor rot. At age 7, you're officially shipped off to another noble's castle to become a page, which is medieval code for small, unpaid, but enthusiastic servant. You thought nobility meant lounging in silk? Nah. It means polishing someone else's sword while being yelled at in French. You sleep in a cold stone hallway. You eat bread so hard it doubles as a weapon. Your job is to fetch things, hold things, and not die of dysentery. So basically, you are a 3-foot-tall butler with aspirations. But hey, you're on the right path to knighthood. A glorious life of honor, duty, and bleeding from 5 places all at once. So enjoy the page years. They're the part no one writes songs about. For good reason. You're 14 now, which means your bones hurt and your childhood is officially over. You've been promoted to Squire, a word that means still a servant, but now with bruises. It's like a medieval promotion to middle management. Same suffering, but more responsibilities. And now you're technically old enough to die in battle. Congratulations! You've graduated from pouring wine to getting stabbed. Lucky you. After all, it's progress. Your reward? What reward? Your job. Everything. After all, you're now the personal assistant to a full-grown knight. You're the knight's butler, blacksmith, nurse, pack mule, and emotional support page, all rolled into one hormonal disaster with a dented helmet. You wake up before sunrise to muck out the stables, lay out your knight's armor, and prep for the day's training. Training, by the way, is just a long series of ways to get hurt by people stronger than you. Sword drills in the mud until your arms shake, shield training until your knuckles bleed, archery practice while your stomach growls because lunch was 3 bites of cold barley and a piece of meat so salty it could embalm you. You eat with your hands, drink watered-down ale that may or may not actually contain water, and chew bread that fights back. In the afternoons, you practice mounting and dismounting horses. Yours hates you, obviously. At night, you listen to your knight drone on about chivalry, which apparently includes kicking you awake at 2 a.m. to test your reaction time. You carry gear that weighs more than you do. You sleep in the stables when your knight's had a bad day. Scratch that. You sleep in the stables and smell like everything that sleeps in the stables. You're expected to polish armor till it shines, clean wounds you didn't cause, and be grateful for the opportunity. And if you mess up, public humiliation, or a beating, or both. Once, you mispacked your knight's saddlebag and forgot his ceremonial tabard. He made you wear it for a week straight. You smelled like mold and horse sweat for days, which, in hindsight, was an upgrade from your previous cologne. But you wonder why everyone talks about the glory of knighthood, and no one talks about the 16-year-old Squire limping back to the barracks with a black eye and a fractured rib, wondering if honor is supposed to smell like rotting leather and stale piss. But you hold on, because if you just survive long enough, just make it to 21, you might get your own armor, your own Squire, your own horse to hate you. Which makes a lot of sense, since it's likely to die in battle. You're 21 now, and somehow still breathing. That alone should qualify you for sainthood, but instead, you get something even more dangerous. Knighthood. It begins with a ceremony. You fast the night before to purify your soul, or just because no one remembered to feed you. You kneel in a cold chapel while the priest mumbles Latin over your aching body. Then the Lord taps your shoulders with a sword, officially turning you from Squire to a walking corpse with a title. Now, you're a knight, a man of honor, a symbol of chivalry, and, most importantly, a highly mobile, heavily armed meat shield with a price tag. You get a sword, some land, if you're lucky, and your very own war horse, a terrifying beast named something like Bloodfang or Cabbage. You're expected to uphold the code, protect the weak, serve your lord, and don't die too embarrassingly. The first battle comes fast. You barely sleep the night before. You sit by the fire, arms spread out beside you, chewing hard bread and thinking of all the ways you could die. Your stomach churns. Not with fear. You're used to fear. But from the mutton stew. At dawn, you get dressed, with help from 2 squires. It takes 40 minutes. The breastplate doesn't quite fit. The helmet smells like your old knight's breath. You mount up, say a quick prayer, and join the charge. The battlefield is chaos. Arrows fly, horses scream. The mud is halfway to your knees and twice as warm as it should be. Your sword ham cramps halfway through your second swing. You don't remember most of the fight, just flashes, slamming into someone, falling off your horse, nearly choking on your own visor. You stab a man, but not before taking a spear to the thigh. You don't even know his name. You can only hope he was the enemy as you crawl back behind a pile of corpses, where a half-dead priest blesses you with one hand and throws up with the other. After the battle is over, you're celebrated. Your lord calls you brave. Your squire calls you, still bleeding, sir. You spend the night on the ground, your wound packed with moss, eating dried beans and praying you don't get gangrene before breakfast. This is your life now. Respected, yes, but only because you're willing to die for someone else's politics. You're a knight. You're legendary. You're limping. And you're only just getting started. You're in your 30s now, which for a knight is like hitting retirement age. Except instead of a pension, you get gout and a nagging sense of religious dread. Your sword arm? Stiff. Your knees? A Greek tragedy. Your back? Sounds like a bag of rocks every time you get out of bed. But there's no rest. Not when there's another crusade to join, or rebellion to crush, or some duke's nephew who insulted the wrong chicken and now everyone's at war again. The church says you're fighting for salvation. Your lord says you're fighting for glory. But really, you're just fighting to keep your crumbling manor and avoid being taxed into oblivion. Speaking of your manor, it sucks. The roof leaks. The crops died. You're in debt to the local abbot. Your armor's rusting, and your horse limp's worse than you do. But you can't quit. After all, knights don't retire. They just slow down, get stabbed more easily, and die sweating in armor that smells like despair and wet dog. At some point, a bard comes through town and asks you for stories of heroism. You lie through your teeth. He writes a song about your gallantry at the Battle of Sludgefield. You remember it as the day you soiled yourself mid-charge and accidentally impaled a friend. But hey, at least the peasants think you're a legend. For now. 15 miserable years pass, and you're now 45, which is roughly 112 in night years. You wake up every morning stiff, bitter, and missing at least one original body part. Your teeth? Gone. Your hearing? Depends on the wind. Your warhorse? Replaced by a mule named Gerald who walks like he's seen things. Your armor doesn't fit anymore. Because your belly's grown. Your shoulders haven't moved since Lent. And you have to be hoisted onto your saddle with the help of 2 squires and a prayer. You've stopped fighting for glory. Now you fight for cholera-free drinking water. Then one day, during a local skirmish you shouldn't even be a part of, a 19-year-old farm boy with a crossbow shows up and puts a bolt through your side from 30 paces. Clean shot. Doesn't even know your name. You don't die immediately. That'd be too easy. Instead, you get dragged back to your half-rotted manor, where you spend the next week coughing, sweating, and hallucinating about honor while the wound festers. And a monk applies something that smells suspiciously like vinegar and failure. You die in your bed. Not in battle. Not in glory. Just a fever-drenched ex-knight mumbling about horses and God. Your sword? Melted down. Your name? Forgotten. Your manor? Claimed by your cousin. Your mule? Probably better off. They bury you in a churchyard you weren't holy enough for, next to a fence, under a rock. There's no poem, no statue, just a rusted helmet. And a vague story sung by some drunk bard who insists you killed a dragon once. You didn't. But hey, at least you died with honor. Probably. Maybe. After all, no one bothered to check.